Hello everyone and welcome to our session. Really excited to be doing our digital channel review today, which is probably one of our favourite sessions. It's always good fun to get into your pages and see what you're doing on your different channels. We'll start off by sharing some best practice tips and our information to give you some inspiration for your channels. I should say as well, actually, you should be able to see our slides. If you can't see those on the top of your Zoom window, it should say Sabina Live Full Screen. So if you click that, they should come up. Otherwise, the live review won't make any sense at all. But let's have a look at our agenda for today. We'll start off by introducing the digital channels that we're talking about today. So we're looking at websites and social media and how you can use those channels strategically to reach your target audiences to help to achieve your goals. We'll talk about best practices, and then we'll want to hear from you too to get your advice, your recommendations, what it is that you think works really well in these online spaces. And then we'll talk about social media best practices, and then we'll head into our live review. And at that point, we'll ask you to share links to your website or social media page that you'd like us to review. We'll put them up on our screen and we'll talk through them, but also an opportunity for everyone else to get involved in sharing feedback as well. And then at the end, we'll set you the task of completing your own audit and share some next steps and recommendations for you to kind of put lots of these learnings into practice afterwards. If you have any questions as we go through, please do let us know by posting in the chat or in the Q&A box. We're really keen to answer anything we can help with as we go through, but if not, we'll come to any questions at the end of our time together as well. So just to quickly introduce myself, for anyone that I haven't yet met, although I've been meeting lots of you in our coaching calls recently, my name is Jasmine and I'm the digital training lead on the team here at Lightful. I'm based in the UK in the south of England, and my background is in digital marketing. I've worked in nonprofits and businesses in social media and advertising, marketing and fundraising. So really looking forward to going through your channels today and seeing what you've got on your social media pages and also giving you some recommendations as well. And I'm also joined by my brilliant colleague Sabina, so I'll hand over to her now to introduce herself.
Thanks, Jasmine, and hi everyone. Great to see you all online today. For anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Sabina. I'm one of your digital communication coaches. So here for these live sessions, your one-to-one coaching calls and developing your e-learning content on Lightful Academy. And like Jasmine, my background is in the nonprofit sector. I worked for 12 years at a nonprofit in the UK where I'm based, and I covered roles working in all things social media, marketing, website optimization. My most recent role was as the website project manager for the big website redevelopment. I can't talk today. So basically what I'm trying to say is I love this workshop. I really loved reviewing websites and social media, so can't wait to get stuck into it. So that is me, and shall we take a look at our learning outcomes for today? So hopefully by the end of this hour together, you will be able to decide which digital channels your organization should use. You know, there's so many out there. Do we want to use them all? Do we want to be strategic? So we're going to be digging into that. You'll also be able to identify some key features that make nonprofit websites and social media pages really effective, and you'll be able to plan to implement some quick wins and conduct your own audit. So those are our learning outcomes. And we're going to kick straight off with a bit of an icebreaker. And we'd love to ask those of you on the call right now, what digital channels do you use? So please could you post in the chat to let us know, or if you would like to let us know verbally, feel free to come off of mute, say them aloud. But we'd love to get a bit of a feel in the room here. Who is using which digital channels? So who's going to kick us off? I can see Catherine straight away is using Facebook and Instagram. Great, thank you. Oh, great, coming in thick and fast now. Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Facebook and Instagram, website and Facebook. Great. What else have we got here? Instagram, Facebook, email, website. I think that's our first mention of email, but it's such a useful platform. Great that you're using it. Mary Kay says Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And Jeremy says LinkedIn, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Cool, got a couple of LinkedIns there. Great for reaching corporates and donors. And our first Blue Sky mention as well. And here we go, Instagram, Facebook mainly, but we're also on YouTube and Vimeo. Cool. And Belle says LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, website. Ministry of Caring is using Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Blue Sky, and website. Loads there for you. Carrie says email, Facebook, Instagram, and website. Oh, we should have made this a word cloud. It would be really nice to see all these really visually. We'll have to do that in the future. We've got a few people who are using Facebook, Instagram. This is from Jacqueline saying also using LinkedIn. They do still have Twitter/X, but not using it often and deciding the future of it. Yeah, very understandable. really good to kind of see whether each platform does align to your values, and has got your audience still on that platform too. Hilda is using Nextdoor as well as Facebook. Oh my gosh, there's so many I can't keep up with them. And Grant says website, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter less now, and TikTok minimally. Interesting. I think that's our first mention of TikTok, but TikTok's a really great platform for reaching a younger audience, particularly. Amazing. Well, thank you, everybody. I wish I had time to read them all out, but that would be our whole workshop done. But great that you've all been sharing, and nice to get that conversation started. So, I think maybe you might have got the impression from all of those platforms that it can be really easy to feel overwhelmed by how many digital channels there are out there. And that is why it's so important to be really strategic about where you show up and how you spend your time. So having an effective digital strategy is really helpful when it comes to this. And that doesn't mean being on every platform or posting the same content everywhere. Instead, it's actually about being tactful and selective. So a really strong strategy often comes down to deciding what not to do so that you have got the time and the space to focus on what you can do well. And it's much more impactful to post thoughtful and tailored content on maybe just one or two channels than to share generic content across many. So if you do find that you have committed yourself to lots and lots of different platforms, but you haven't got the time to create content that is tailored for each of those platforms' needs and the audiences that you have got on each of them, what you can do is you can kind of go back to your goals, ask yourself what your goals are, look at the audience work that you've been doing this month as well, and think about which channels make the most sense for you to focus on right now. And this is going to help you to decide where to invest your time. And it's also really worth considering your time and capacity. Do you really have time right now to be effective and consistent on lots of different channels? And if you need to think about what to prioritize, you can again refer back to your goals, which channels are most aligned with the goals that you have got set. And that will hopefully help you to decide where to spend your time and help you use your capacity really wisely. But let's explore this a bit deeper by taking a look at some example goals. So for instance, like this goal here, if your organization's goal is to increase corporate partnerships, you want to focus on reaching professionals. So LinkedIn is a really strong platform for this. This is where those business decision makers are spending their time. And then you can strengthen the strategy by also thinking about your other platforms. So making sure your website clearly highlights the partnership opportunities, also making it really simple for potential partners to get in touch. And here's another example. So if this goal is to grow community engagement and focusing on a young local audience, so Instagram can be a really good choice for that. It's a really visual platform, and that visual nature makes it ideal for storytelling and showcasing events as well. And then to take that further with a strong strategy, you might also consider creating simple, engaging email newsletters that highlight those local activities and opportunities to get involved. So what's really key here is making sure that your website as well as your social media shows how people can engage with your organization. And also what can be helpful is thinking about your personas, so they can really help you to refine this further. And if you want to dive deeper into this, we have got a Lightful Academy course, which is all around creating a social media strategy, and it walks you through the process step by step. So we can ping a link to that in the chat for you now. So going to ask you all a poll question now, just to find out where you're currently at really when it comes to your website and your social media pages. So that should be popping up on your screens now. We've got a couple of questions. The first is asking how confident do you currently feel about using websites as social media pages? And the second is, does your website and social media pages help you to achieve your organization's goals? Thanks, everyone. I can see you're already voting away in that. So let's give you a few seconds to see what these responses are telling us. So it looks like confidence levels are a bit of a spread, but I would say they're more at the upper middle end of the range, which is really great to see. But wherever you are currently sitting on that confidence scale, do not worry because we are here to help you to get you even further up that ladder. And in terms of kind of meeting organizations' goals, strong front runner here is that somewhat, but think it could be more effective. So great, we're all in the right place and we're going to help you to get them even more effective today. So let's start by focusing on websites. We'll talk about websites first, then we'll move on to social media. And I'd like to open up the floor to you all again. We would love to know what you think makes a good website. So please do, again, post it in the chat or come off of mute and let us know anything that comes to mind about what makes a good website. Maybe it's something about how it looks or what you can do on the website. We've got a couple of examples on your screen just to warm you up. Have a think about any good experiences you've had and what you've liked about them. Great, I can see we've got some coming through already. Meredith says easy to use. Wave says simple imagery, easy to navigate, graphics and user-friendly. Everything works in terms of links properly. Yeah, that is not to be understated. You want everything to be working for sure. Lydia says a clear mission of the organization. Absolutely. Melanie, compelling call to action. Chris, easy and engaging UI, which is user interface, user experience as well. Visually impressive and informative, navigatable. Simplicity is definitely coming through in these comments, as Jasmine has just said. Scrolling header with up-to-date info. Grant says straightforward messaging with clear impact. I really agree. You want your website to be straightforward and simple and easy to understand. Chandra says easy to find what you're looking for. Clear messaging, core services. Visually attractive and easy to use. Easy for visitors to navigate. Access how to get involved. Eye-catching phrases. Obvious ways to give. Yes, I think that's the first time that's been mentioned, but that's often a really important call to action on your website. So you do want to make it as simple as possible. Ministry of Caring says WYSIWYG interface, which stands for what you see is what you get. For administrative side, yeah, you need it to be easy for you to use as well as easy for your users and your audience to find their way around. Easy to use and links connecting, resourcing, reconnecting pages, engagement, current up-to-date information. Oh, amazing, everybody. I think we can just end the workshop there. I think you've got it all under control. This is amazing points. But we will actually go through some more best practices, but you've really summed it all up there in the chat, so that's amazing. But a few more things we can elaborate on here. So your website is often the first place that people go to learn about your organization. So it needs to work really hard for you. An effective website, it doesn't just look professional, it helps you to reach and engage your audiences by providing that content that is clear and relevant and easy to find. So you can think of it like your organization's digital home, and it should tell your story and highlight your impact and guide visitors towards making those meaningful actions, whether that is making a donation or signing up for a newsletter or as a volunteer or just learning more. And every element from design to content should serve your audience and your mission. And we do get asked from time to time, why should I invest time in my website? Well, it's really important. For most people, it is the first stop that they will take when they want to learn about your organization. And that includes audiences of all varieties, potential funders, supporters, donors, volunteers, service users. So a well-designed website does build trust and it shows your organization is credible, but also transparent and professional. And it also gives you a platform to share the key information that people are looking for, whether that is your mission or your impact or how they can get involved. Beyond that, your website is also a powerful tool for learning about your audience. You can use it to analyze how people interact with your different pages and your different content. You can dig into your audience and website data to get a better understanding of their needs, and then you can tailor your communications to be more efficient and effective. So we've got some key principles to run you through, and our first is simplicity, which we saw coming through loud and clear in the chat. So a clear and uncluttered design is going to help your audience to really quickly understand who you are and what you do. So I always recommend avoiding overwhelming visitors with too much text. Don't be afraid of using lots of negative space and regular images to break up the text. Giving those visual rests for the eye is really going to help your audience to actually absorb the information that's on your website. And along these lines too, also keep your sentences short and use a subheading every 2 to 3 paragraphs. That's really going to help your reader, but also your search engine optimization. And once you've mastered this, you can take it further by ensuring that each page has a single focused purpose. So something that you can measure. So think about on each page what it is meant for, what is that next step that somebody is going to take, and make sure that it includes some clear calls to actions that actually help the visitor to take that next step, whether it's making a donation or signing up or learning more. That's going to be really helpful for that user experience, but also search engine optimization, because the more interlinks you have between your pages, the more authority you will have on your website in terms of Google and the search engines. Here's a good example of a great homepage. This one's really clear. They've got their information about who the organization is, a very brief overview of their mission, and the menu at the top that allows users to navigate where they want to go. It's really simply laid out and nice to find their way around. Our next kind of key principle is about having really great visuals that tell a story. So high quality imagery is really important, and it's also all about your branding here. So your colors, your fonts, and your logos, these are all going to be telling that story of your organization. So adding powerful and high quality imagery is a really quick and easy way to improve your website pages. If you are noticing your pages are looking a bit heavy, sorry, just adding a few photos or videos is a great way to help to break this up and relay large pieces of information. And infographics can be really helpful for this too, to communicate statistic heavy info in a way that's nice and doesn't overwhelm the reader. And images also help to bring your work to life and build that personal connection between the viewer and your organization. But if you are finding that your visual files are too large, it will slow down your page load speed. So people's attention spans online are really short, and if a page doesn't load very quickly, they're not likely to wait around. So I advise keeping your website image files to about 2 MB. That's going to help to make sure they're nice and sharp and good quality, but not too large that you end up having a slow loading site. You can also be mindful of the number of images on each of your pages, because the cumulative weight will add to that page load speed. And once you are confident that you've got a really comprehensive website set up, then it's all about making those regular and relevant updates. So perhaps when you're running your year-end campaign, updating your donation page that ties in with your campaign branding. This is going to help to make sure that your pages look really appealing and show that it's up to date. And it's important because it's the last page that people see before they do make that donation. So you want it to be that really positive experience. So here is a lovely example of using visuals really well. Great clear image on a home page, which instantly prompts that connection. But there's also consistent use of colors and fonts, which makes that brand identity really clear. Next tip is to make sure your website is easy to navigate. So a visitor should be able to find the information they're looking for within a few seconds of visiting your website. So on your home pages, what I would recommend including there to make sure people can find what they need is a short introduction of your organization and your purpose, your key current campaigns, your biggest achievements, that could be with some statistics, and also links to pages that are relevant to all of those things I just mentioned with further details. Your homepage is really a navigational site that links people deeper into your website to find out the further information. And your header menu and your footer menu are really key to optimizing your website navigation. So these are the elements that are visible across your website, whatever page the visitor is on. So with your header menu, pin this in place so that it's always visible as people scroll down the page. That's going to help people to find their way around. When it comes to your donate button on your header menu, this is often one of the places that you want visitors to find really quickly and easily. So you can make this really stand out by putting a bright color behind it or a border around it. That's going to help it really pop and make sure people can find it quickly. It's also worth remembering visitors can land on any page of your website. They don't always come to your homepage first. So always think about what the user journey is and make sure there's a clear next step on every page. And it can be really helpful to conduct some testing. So what you can do is you can ask some of your supporters to find a specific thing on your website and see how long it will take them to find it. That's going to be a really fun way of setting a bit of a treasure test to see how well your navigation is working on your website. And there are also platforms you can use for this too. Hotjar is one that allows you to do a little free test, and it presents it in a visual kind of heat map style. So let's take a look at an example of a great page. So on this one, you can see they've got really clear menu options and they're targeted at each of their organization's key target audiences. And they've also got that great donation button up in the top right corner. It's got that really bright color behind it. So at any point when someone's feeling inspired to donate, they can do so really easily. And last tip from me for now is all around accessibility. So always consider and reflect on how user-friendly your website is. How easy is it to navigate? Do all of the buttons work correctly? Is everything clear? Is the design clear? Have you got that color contrast that's easy to read? And is your font large enough? And also when it comes to your images, always include alternative text, that's also called alt text, for your images to make your website more accessible for everybody, regardless of abilities or disabilities. So this populates a description of the image, which is read aloud by screen readers. So really essential for ensuring everybody knows what the image is portraying, but it also helps your website search engine optimization because that's another area that Google's crawlers will be reading through. And it's really important to make sure your website works well on a desktop and on mobile phones and tablets, as lots of people browse solely on their mobile devices. So I'd always design your pages for mobile first rather than desktop first. There are also some great accessibility tools that you can integrate into your website, and we've got lots more information about this in a course on Lightful Academy called Digital Accessibility Best Practices. So we can share the link for that in the chat for you now. And we're going to show you a quick screen recording now of a really clear donation page that's easy to navigate on a desktop browser. So plenty of information without it being overwhelming. You can see that they've drawn out some great little graphics and illustrations that help to bring their information to life. They've got a nice variety of layouts, so it's really engaging. And then this is what it looks like on a mobile phone. So all the same information, but presented in a way that's really optimized for mobiles. So not overwhelming, lots of visual breaks, nice and interactive, and really consistent with their visual journey too. So that's a great example to see. And I'm going to hand you now to Jasmine to take us through some social media best practices.
Great, thanks, Sabina. So yeah, just to kick it off, we'll hand over to everyone here to start with to just see what type of social media content stands out to you. So again, post in the chat, just anything that comes to mind. What sort of stuff do you like to see on social media? What stands out in your feeds that you particularly like? I'll give you a moment to type in the chat and we'll see if any common themes come out of that. Feel like it's changed a lot over the previous years as well. Like now I will be on Instagram looking at reels a lot more than I used to. I would have looked at images more so, and actually there we go, the first 3 messages say short videos, and that's interesting that that's changed so much over the previous years. Got positive images, post with a call to action. Yes, definitely. We definitely recommend having some kind of call to action in every post that you create. Often people are quite passive on social media, you know, that kind of scrolling behavior. You need to cut through and kind of tell them what to do in a nice way. Pictures, videos, short content that links to longer messages so I can read and research later. That's a really great point, Coretta. You kind of got that social media feed where it's lots of little snippets, but you can take people somewhere else to read more. Trisha says videos with heartwarming stories. You do a Father's and Mother's Day video every year and it gets one of your highest response rates. That's amazing. Yeah, I think that emotional connection, that being able to tell stories through visual, engaging formats is really powerful. Content that feels like it was made by a person. Tim makes a really good point here, because I think that's definitely why we've seen the growth of platforms like TikTok, where you used to have very curated content, curated feeds, and now it's kind of content that is maybe filmed by someone that looks like me or someone who's going about their day. It's not this celebrity impression. And so that actually makes it a lot more accessible for us to be able to create content ourselves. And I know lots of organizations are starting to do those kind of informal, authentic videos, which can be really effective. But loads of great comments. Do feel free to keep them coming. I think there's some great contributions and some really good recommendations from everyone in the group here. We're going to go through some social media best practices now with some quick tips. Of course, there are lots of different social media platforms, so we're going to cover general best practices now, but you can look in more depth at specific channels in our courses on Lightful Academy, in our playlist on digital tools and best practices. But the great thing I think about social media is that it's a free tool to use and your content can be seen by so many people. So I think it can be so important to really optimize your use of it. And there are some quick wins that I think you can integrate when it comes to creating content and setting up your pages that makes it, more discoverable and really worth your time. As we go through though, if anyone does have any specific questions about particular channels, feel free to pop them in the chat and we can help with that. And when it comes to social media, you probably have multiple channels. I think we saw in the chat earlier, some people have got loads, some people have got 1 or 2. But remember to use your personas to choose the right ones. So you can do that strategically, so you're not just randomly picking channels. And then don't overcommit to posting too often or in too many places. It's really best to start small and scale up and do that in a manageable way that fits in with your capacity. And if you'd like to learn more about creating your own content calendar, we have a Lightful Academy course and a template on creating content calendars as well. So it's really about having something that's strategic and also manageable for your workload. But when it comes to setting up your channels, it's really important to get the basics right. So you've got things like your social media handles, your page names, profile pictures, be clear, be easy to find, be recognizable, and people to know that it's you, that it's your organization as soon as they see the content. And then you can use your bio or your about section to share your mission statement, any key information, maybe contact details, where you're based, and really importantly, include a link to your website. And if you need to add multiple links to that section on your page, then you can do so using tools like Linktree, where it's one link and you click on it, it opens out to several links that they can choose from, and you can make them very visually engaging too. The other thing I'd say, if you've kind of got all of that sorted, is to make the most of your pinned or featured posts. So these are posts on most channels that you can pin to the top of your pages. And you really want to grab people's attention as soon as they see your page and make it clear at a glance who you are and what you do, a bit like we were saying on your website homepage. And you can also do this through having stories and highlights. And actually, we'll see from the next slide in this example of an organization doing just that. So they've got, if we can pull up the ActionAid example, they've got their bio, they've got the address, they've got a link you can click out to, but then these top posts are pinned to their feed, so they're the first things you see when you come onto the page, not just the most recent thing. And then those highlights there are branded, they're really clear about what you will see if you click on each of those icons. So that's a really nice example of how you can integrate all of those things just when setting up your pages. And then we want to create content that drives action. So your social media content should always be about driving action, like was mentioned in the chat about always having a call to action. It might be something big, like asking people to make a donation, or it might be smaller, like engaging with your post or sharing it, commenting, whatever it is. It's really helpful to have something that you want someone to do. And that means it's clearer when you're creating your content as well of what it is that you're creating. And every post that you share should align with your goals in some way. So it might not feel like it, but actually, if you're sharing a picture of some volunteers and the call to action is comment below to share your support, that's a really great way of building audience engagement, and also sharing about how you run volunteering opportunities, for example. And then tailor your posts to your different channels and audiences. So not having one post that goes everywhere for everyone, because really the people reading your posts are likely to be different. So think about what's likely to engage them. And again, going back to those personas, thinking about each channel and who's on that channel, what unique audience are you talking to? And it's not the case of recreating every piece of content entirely differently, just small tweaks that really acknowledge and meet the audiences where they're at. And it's important to post regularly, but you really don't have to post every day. I think there's often the perception that we have to be putting loads and loads of posts out, but actually find a schedule that works for you, because regular posting is what's really going to work with the algorithms rather than lots and lots of posts. And then in this example, we've got a post that showcases the impact of making a donation to this organisation. So they might have created this knowing that actually on this channel, audiences are facing barriers when donating because they're not sure of the impact. And so then they can create this graphic that shows the information in a really visual way and really helps to answer those questions. But there's also a call to action. So after educating their audience, knowing that's what they need, it says give with confidence today, and then there's a link as well. So I think that's a really good example of how you can integrate those things. And then final point on social media is about the opportunity to build your community. You can give an insight into your organization's values, personality, a bit of behind the scenes. So it's really good to respond to comments and messages quickly. Replying to comments also means that the social media algorithms see your content as something that's engaging. So more people will see your posts and you'll get more visibility that way. And you can also prompt audience engagement. So don't be afraid of asking people to kind of comment below with an answer to a question, or share your post to help spread the word about a particular issue that they might care about too. And then once you're confident doing this, you might find it helpful to come up with a clear plan of what you'll do if people start sharing spam or offensive content, if the comments kind of go the wrong way and you see lots of this coming through. If you need support with this, do let us know, as we are experiencing this. We've got some guidance to help with that. But start off by building up that community, responding, and then you can put plans in place if that's something that you need to later down the line. An example post of how you could engage your audience is this one on your screen. And this is where an organization has created a post with a specific goal of actually getting insights and contributions from their followers. So they've actually the post's purpose is asking a question and people commenting, and you can see that's prompted lots of comments. And in this instance, it will be really important that this organisation then goes back through, replies to these contributions to acknowledge and respond to their engagement. And so don't underestimate that opportunity, because people then get a bit of a glimpse into who you are as an organisation. They have that back and forth interaction, which is a bit more of a connection as well. So those are a few initial tips. And like I said, if as we go through, you think of any questions about particular channels that you're finding challenging, or you're not quite sure how to use, then do let us know. But actually, we've now got time to start the live reviews and talking through your pages. So if you'd like to get your links ready and post them in the chat, and then we'll start going through them and we'll pull them up on our screens. We'll talk through our feedback on your channels. So we'll just give a moment for people to gather those links, pop them in the chat, and then we'll be able to get started. I can see we've got some coming through. Let me see if we can open that a second. Oh, now they're all moving at once. 1 second.
Right, one. Like kick this one off. So this one is Patrick Henry's Red Hill Facebook page. So first impressions are, I love that you've got this nice, crisp and sharp header image, and the profile picture is, I'm assuming, Patrick Henry, but great kind of portrait of him. So it's definitely given me that kind of sense of your organization and that spirit of the place, which is lovely. Some of the first things I always look at when it comes to a Facebook page is what you've got populated in your kind of intro and your about information, always thinking about what a first-time visitor might be looking for. So great to see that you've got lots of useful information. I can find your other social media handles. I can visit your YouTube page. I know the details about your opening times. If I go into your about information, is there much going on here? So what you can also have populated here is a bit more information about your mission and your vision. You can have the about bit appearing here, and it lets you put in a couple of paragraphs of text. So I always recommend filling that out with your mission statements and maybe some details about, you check your Facebook page Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, some kind of house rules to establish, so everyone knows what to expect from you. Let's take a look down the page at some of your posts. So it looks like we haven't got any pinned posts in place. Normally, if there's a pinned post, it will be here with a little pin icon. So I would really recommend having some pinned posts, because like Jasmine mentioned earlier, they're a great way of kind of highlighting the most important things going on for you at the moment. So it could be that you have a post introducing people to your organization that's pinned in place, or maybe one that's about your kind of main programs or projects that are happening at the moment. But let's see what's going on with this one. I love this kind of opening sentence. It's really catchy. Who says history can't be an adventure? Had the best time with this crew on a tour. Cool, so it's really spotlighting an event that you had and showing the gang who came along on the tour. And it looks like your audience has responded really well with it. They've liked it, someone shared it. So a really nice way to kind of spotlight the work that you're doing. Thanks for the memories, everyone. Yeah, I love that. That's really nice. Let's keep scrolling down, see what else. So we've got an event. I think events are really underutilized by organizations on Facebook. They're a great way of getting out the information about events that you're running, not just to the audience who's following you, but also to an audience who isn't following you, because they'll show in the feeds, in the event information for other people, so who aren't already following you, is what I'm trying to say. So a really useful thing to do. And then let's take a look at this one. So this is another kind of push for an event that's happening, but lots of information about it. Really setting the scene for what's going to be going on, and then the call to action to register here. Great. And then a nice eye-catching image, and you're resharing the event that you've already created as a Facebook event. This is really fun. Maybe what I would possibly suggest on this one is having the call to action right at the end. It's very established, but if you think about how I had to kind of click on see more to get most of the caption to appear, what can be quite effective is having the call to action with the link a little bit earlier on so that people see it a little bit sooner. I would definitely experiment with the location of where you put the links to see what gets the best response from your audience. And maybe something about emojis. So using lots of emojis like this, it's very nice and eye-catching, really makes your caption look visual and interesting. But it's worth being aware that they're not super accessible to anybody using a screen reader. would have to listen to it say sparkle emoji, fourth annual quarter place tribute sparkle emoji, and then using them in this bullet point way. It looks really cool, but it's just not lovely to listen to on a screen reader. So it's worth balancing how many emojis you have got in a caption, maybe sticking to one or two rather than having so many. And there are some tools that you can use to listen to what they sound like being read aloud. They're in our accessibility course if you're ever interested in knowing a bit more about that. But I think in the interest of time, shall I hand you to Jasmine now to review our next page for today?
Right. Yes, I'm very happy to do our next one. So I've got, hopefully coming up, can you see Wilton House Museum website? Perfect. Great, yeah, thanks for sharing. Yeah, another historical site, which is interesting. So the first thing that happens when I open up this website is I've got this pop-up, which is really cool. So I'm understanding from this website that your priority kind of getting people to book on to tours. So as this first pop-up, yeah, I can either close it down or I can click through and book a tour. And this is like a super user-friendly booking page. The only thing I'd add maybe is if someone has quickly Googled Wilton House, they've come on and they're like, oh yeah, maybe I will book a tour. I think there's maybe some additional context you can put here that you have on your website about what's at the museum, what you're running, and that might help if they've quickly looked and they don't know about you and they haven't been before. There's an opportunity there to kind of capture their attention, maybe with an image, a short paragraph about what they can expect to make sure that they actually do go on to book it. But let's go through to the website. Lovely initial homepage. You've got, this is kind of what I mean, actually having this visual, you're saying who you are, what you do, and the opportunity to visit it. One thing I'd like to point out for others is we mentioned about accessibility tools earlier on, and this little icon at the bottom is an accessibility menu. And this is a really great way to integrate accessibility into your website. So you can see for any needs that I as a user might have, I can change things like the contrast. I can change, like highlight links that's easier to click on, can increase the text size. So all of those things mean that I can do that as a user according to what it is that I need. And that's a really helpful plugin. So I think that's a great thing to include. And then we've got a clear menu at the top, and there's a few different elements which you can have a look through, and that's super clear for me. I think one thing, so the visiting section, similar in terms of looking at those tours. I wonder if where you've got later on, you talk about the collections and you've got events and things, if there's something again to kind of capture someone that maybe has never been before, why should they come? Why should they book? Whether that's a quote from someone that's visited, whether it's pictures, a little bio, whatever that is. And I think just so we can, I won't go through every menu section. I think the other bit I will look at is the support section. And this depends a lot on your priorities. So for a lot of organisations, I know you're wanting to push to get additional donations or maybe volunteers. And so if that is the case, I'd think about how that's integrated throughout the website, how I might say that actually perhaps our events or our collections are funded by a generous support of donors. And if you would like to support, you can go here and find out more. So you've got a great explanation to say that with your support, we can do these tours, lectures and exhibitions. And I love the kind of visual, real people photo, I think is really lovely. Ties into that kind of not overwhelming with imagery, but the images you choose being really effective. And so it might be helpful just to break that down where you've got a goal for the year is a big goal. And I think about how you might make that accessible by saying, actually, perhaps if you were able to give $10 a month or some little options that might make it a bit more accessible for an everyday visitor, might then persuade them to go ahead and click on that donate button. But I think your branding, your layout and design is super clear. I think the only thing I would really think about is integrating some of that messaging throughout, telling that great story of the museum through your different pages. But I know we want to do some quick reviews, so we go through as many people as we can. So maybe I'll hand back to Sabina to do our next one.
Thanks, Jasmine. I thought I would pick a Instagram page next, as we've not seen one of those already. So I've pulled up Washington College alumni's Instagram page. So I'm just going to move my Zoom screen a bit. There we go. So first impressions are great kind of use of branding. You've got your strong like visual consistency going on with your use of colours and designs. And these are a nice way of highlighting any Instagram stories that you can pin in place. So great to see that you've got a couple going on for past events and spotlight. Might be really nice if you can get a few more highlights going on with your stories, perhaps a bit more about any kind of projects or programs that you're running, or yeah, just to kind of provide that kind of breadth of the work that you're doing. That would be great to see. And I also think you could put a little bit more information in your bio too. You often see a few, like 3 or 4 lines of detail in a bio, so I think you can definitely elaborate on this to tell people what your deal is and what's going on. But let's take a look at some of your posts. So this one is telling us about your alumni events that are taking place over the next few months, which is really nice to see. You're definitely like communicating really clearly about what's coming up, which is lovely. I would always reinforce the information that you're presenting in the image by also including it in the caption. That's going to be really helpful for a number of reasons. The caption is the detail that the algorithm will be using to prioritize the information, as to whose feed this goes into. So it will be really useful there. It's also what's read aloud by screen readers, so helpful from an accessibility point of view. It also allows you to elaborate in a lot more detail, like in the space on this image, it's limited, so you can go into more depth and detail in the caption about what these events are about. And you've got a call to action. Okay, so we're saying we can't wait to see you, but I don't know how I go about going to any of these events. So I think a call to action here that says, do you need to book or do you need to go to the website to find out more information? What is that next step that I could take? I think would be really helpful to take this post to the next level. And let's take a look at one more. Homecoming weekend, save the date. I think the style of these images is really nice and engaging and not overwhelming with information. It's a really good balance. So we hope you'll join us. We've saved you a seat. That's really fun. So yeah, you're really clearly communicating what's happening, some key things that are going on. Then the caption is again a little bit on the short side, I would say. So again, if you can pull out a bit more detail about this event into the caption and have that call to action, like we can't wait to see you on campus, is really lovely. But maybe on this one, again, it's about, do they need to sign up? Do they need to do something? If that's not the case, then maybe letting them know that, like, no need to sign up. We just can't wait to see you on the day. Or if you wanted to take it down an engagement route and getting people to comment on it, you could say, like, what's one thing that you're looking forward to about this event? Something that prompts that conversation. Maybe let's take a look at one more. Cool, so this is a video. And it says the bricks have arrived. Of course, it's an update about a project that you're doing. Thank you to the class of 2025 for spearheading this historic initiative. Thank you to all the alumni, parents, students, faculty, staff, and friends who purchased the brick. Oh, I love that. Keep an eye out for more information about the official ribbon cutting during homecoming weekend. Cool, really great to be giving those project updates and thanking everybody who's been really key to making the project happen. Really cool to see this coming to life. I wonder if there's any audio. No sound on this one. Excellent. And it looks like your audience is really engaged with this. Oh, there goes the neighbourhood. Oh dear. So maybe when you've got these comments that are not super positive, I would always recommend responding to share your organisation's position or to kind of de-escalate if possible. Yeah, it's a shame that this person is not excited about the project unless they're being sarcastic, and that sarcasm isn't reading well for me. But yeah, I definitely would recommend responding to this one, and also to anybody who's engaging more positively to keep that conversation going and help people feel part of that engaged community. Great stuff though. Look at a really great page. And I'll hand you now to Jasmine to take us through the next one.
Thanks. I've pulled up a Facebook page for Fareham College alumni, and actually I thought this might be relevant because I know lots of you working in education have those alumni communities, which are a really key area to engage potential donors and to keep that conversation going and build that relationship. So first instance, actually, the cover photo I really like, and often we would say, think about the formatting and the quality, but I think because of the fact it's for alumni, it's a lovely group shot. I feel like it gives a really nostalgic feel. So I think that's great. You've got a very people-centered focus when you first land on the page. You then got your info and your about section. And what I really liked is you've got some featured posts. So this is what we were talking about earlier of having some things stay at the top here. However, the only thing I think I have noticed is that perhaps this is talking about an event that has passed. So that will be the one thing to keep an eye on when you've got those pin posts, is making sure that they're up to date. And you could have some that maybe are even about this is a page for our alumni community, stay up to date on our events and news, as something that just kind of, when people land there, they're like, yeah, I'm in the right place. I should follow this page now. But scrolling through some posts, there's lots of visuals, lots of photos. And I know from talking to some of you before that those kind of student focused visuals, photos can be really engaging. So I think that's a great angle to go down. I think I'm just thinking about the hashtags. I don't think there's much benefit to using hashtags on Facebook anymore. But that being said, I can see that you've used them. One accessibility point we would say is if you are using hashtags, for example, on Instagram and LinkedIn, capitalizing the first letter of each word is best practice because it means that it's easier to read, but it's also good for screen readers as well. So I don't think they're needed on Facebook, but that's the best format to put them in, which is great. I think something to think about would be when we were mentioning earlier about having a call to action in every post, even if it's like a really small one, and even if it's not actually a big task you want anyone to do. Actually, this is sharing photos from an event. And you've talked about having organizations that took part in a local business expo, which is really lovely. And I would wonder if something you could say is either to, comment below with your favorite moment of the day, or perhaps you have future partnerships with businesses that you're looking for, like depending on what angle, like what your actual goals are, you could tie in like a soft ask there. And even though if it was to do with having future businesses come and showcase what they do, I wouldn't expect you'd get loads of businesses kind of comment and say, yes, I'm in, sign me up. But it actually raises awareness that that's something that you do or something that you're looking for. And it helps to put it on people's radar that that's a way that you would like for them to engage with you. And then, yeah, some more lovely photos as well, which is great. This is a throwback post. That's a really nice thing to be able to do, actually, to be able to look back on pictures, especially if you've got that alumni group and you've got some nostalgia there, some things that you want to be revisiting too. And this one is about a specific article about a professor. So that seems like, yeah, a really appropriate thing to post on that page. I can see it's had shares and people kind of sharing that key information for people as well. This is an example, I think, that ties into what somebody was saying in the chat earlier. I'm sorry, I can't remember who, is that you've got like a lovely summary of an event and then an option for people to go ahead and read more. So without putting every single bit of content in a Facebook post, you've got a snippet, you've got your key people that were involved, a photo, and then they can go out, and that's the kind of call to action, which is really lovely. So yeah, I think great. I think the thing that I would think about is what it is you want from the alumni community in terms of engagement. Like, would you like to see more in terms of comments? Would you like to see more in terms of clicks? Of course, you can look at your analytics and figure out what's most important, and then think about how you might drive that through the way that you articulate call to actions, the way that you prompt people in your posts as well. But yeah, I think that's a great page. So I'll hand back to Sabina.
Thank you. I thought I would go for a website next. So we've got Sheltering Arms Foundation. Yeah, so first impressions, I love this make a difference, big, bold headline, which is really grabbing my attention. And the imagery is so uplifting as well. It's great. It's very empowering. So really like strong start here. Kind of go back up to the header menu. Great to see that donate button that's got that kind of visual border behind it that also changes as I move my cursor over it. So it really stands out and makes me want to click on it. The other thing I was wondering is there's quite a lot of things here in the header menu, in kind of like a pre-header and then header. So I wonder if it's a little bit too many, like 4 or 5 is probably tops that I would recommend. So I would think about, is there anything we can do here to condense it? Like maybe ways to give and volunteer could both live under support us, as they're two different methods of supporting. Otherwise, I think that might help condense it down a little bit. Shall we take a scroll down the page? Great that you can open up straight away to find out about your mission and donate now. I would want to see a little bit more about your mission on the page, so hopefully that's going to be coming up very soon. Looks like here we've got some potential confusion between 3 similar organizations or similarly named organizations. I'm not sure about the backstory here, but you're directing people, you're letting them know where they've landed, and then you're directing people to these 2 other places. I can see this is probably like a historic issue that might have arisen and you're trying to address it. I wonder if there's more that we can do with the page that would help people realize they've landed on the Sheltering Arms Foundation website straight away. So obviously you've got it there in the logo. Maybe there could also be a pre-header here, Sheltering Arms, make a difference or making a difference. I'd have to give that a bit more thought, and think about how to present this I think this is a pretty like niche situation, but maybe if you wanted to have a one-to-one where we can really dig into this and try and find a good solution, that might be helpful. Okay, so here we've got this mission information that I was hoping to see next, which is great to see. Your giving has the power to transform lives. Really love your use of language on this site. It's very donor-led, rather than being kind of organization-led. You're really showing how people can make a difference to the work you're doing. Oh, I can see Trisha has said they're all the same organization, but we have a confusing structure. I see. Yeah, if you would like a one-to-one, Trisha, and we can unpick this and see how we can help. Oh, cool. More great, like donor-led language. Click here to transform lives. Very much make me want to take these actions. It's lovely to see. And you've given that introduction to who you are. You've got that next step to take. Oh, great. And then we've got some impact statistics. And I love the way that they are kind of running up. So it's showing how you're always making a difference in people's lives. And that this is kind of growing all the time. And it's so nice and visual, kind of showing that worldwide impact with the map behind you. So many donors, so many patients, so much donated. Then we've got your key main initiatives. Perfect. And you've got like a nice introduction to each of them. Oh, how do I find out more? So it looks like I probably need to click here. I would always kind of double up on how to take an action. So great that you can click here. Looks like you can also click on the image, but I'd also recommend a button here, which takes people through to. The more options for people to take that action, the easier it will be to actually get them to do so. But great that you've kind of pulled out all of these key projects. Then you've got funding opportunities, have an impact, so volunteer ways to give. Then we get to the end. Cool. Is there anything else I'd want to see on this homepage? Maybe a little bit of storytelling would be nice. Perhaps like a quote or a little case study down towards the end might just help to bring that first person perspective to life a little bit. But I think otherwise it's such a strong homepage, really ticking off all those boxes of the main important things to have, and then taking you on that journey deeper into the website to find out more supporting information. Okay, how are we doing, Jasmine? Can we fit in one more?
I think so. I'd like to, because I found we haven't done a LinkedIn page yet. So I might just really quickly do a LinkedIn page that we had from Jacksonville Speech and Hearing Centre. Because yeah, just want to spotlight that, because LinkedIn is becoming such a key channel for engaging with people. I suppose where we see things like the way people use Facebook shifting, I'm seeing the same on LinkedIn, and actually it's a very active place. If you're not on there already, it's good to think about. And this is the kind of what happens when you land on their LinkedIn page. I think my very initial perspective would be thinking about the profile picture and the cover image. The text is pretty small, and I'd want to check that on mobile as well. So I think about how that might maybe be adapted. I think sometimes it's hard to adapt our logos for the tiny social media icons that we get given, but maybe worth giving that some thought. Even perhaps just the middle section of that logo could be bigger, so it's more recognizable. The overview we've got here is kind of providing really key information, which I love. I like that you've got this kind of really clear, almost, well, you've got your mission statement, but you've got your help people speak, hear and communicate, which I think is really lovely for someone, a first time visit to the page. I've grasped what you're doing, which is fantastic. And actually, if I go back, we can go and look at, you've got featured posts, which we were talking about earlier. So these are the ones that are staying at the top of your page, the first things that people are going to see when they discover you, which is really lovely, and they're really visual as well. And then I might go and look at your page post, but I can also see you've got an event. So great way of using all the different LinkedIn features, because I think some of them are quite underused. I will do a very quick whiz through. I think what you've got in your posts is really engaging and attractive for people using LinkedIn, because often you can get away with much longer captions on LinkedIn than you can on something like Instagram. So it's a great way to use it. I would be using hashtags as you're doing. I'd think about capitalizing the first letter of each word in those. And you've got emojis, but there's not too many. So I think that's great. I'm not sure if it's my screen or maybe there's the font changes. I'm not sure how that works for like mobile and different views or accessibility needs. So I'd think about maybe using the set LinkedIn font, but I actually don't know how you have changed the font. So I'm intrigued into that one. And as I scroll through the posts, I think my only kind of takeaway in terms of an improvement, because I think the captions are really great and you've got call to actions, you've got hashtags, you've made it really clear to your audience what you want them to do, is when you have graphics, thinking about the branding to be super clear, because I think as I scroll through, things look slightly different. And the key thing for me would be if someone sees this post in their feed, they're scrolling by, Will they know it was you at a glance? So maybe that's incorporating your brand colors, putting a logo on it, something like that. And you can use tools like Canva to make some really lovely templates. But I'm conscious I'm getting carried away and we've only got a few minutes left. So I will give the floor back to you, Sabina. Thank you.
Thanks, Jasmine. Okay, I'm going to pull back up our slides now and I'll take you through some next steps. And the first is talking about auditing. So we've only had time to scratch the surface of our key tips and principles for today, but you can go deeper by reviewing your own channels. So we have got a course on Lightful Academy, which is all around social media auditing. It takes you through the exercise step by step. So I'd really recommend following that. It also has a downloadable template that you can use to capture your auditing details, which looks a bit like this, and it's explained in more depth in the course. It literally tells you exactly what to do with each sheet, but it's really designed to take the complexity out of carrying out that audit. And I do recommend auditing channels on a regular basis, just so that you know what's happening and what your audience is responding to, and then you can adapt your content to respond to that. But in terms of other next steps for today, I've mentioned auditing, then also carrying on learning. So we have got courses on Lightful Academy about each of the platforms and their best practices, including websites, all social media platforms, and then carry on getting reviews. So we love doing in-depth social media and website reviews in one-to-one coaching calls. So feel free to book in whether we didn't get to your pages or whether we just had time to kind of skim the surface. We can go much deeper in one-to-one coaching as well. And then a quick reminder about your community groups. So if you haven't yet, you can join us on our Facebook group, which has got Bridge participants from past and present, over 1,000 people in that group now. So a great place to connect. And then you've also got your dedicated WhatsApp group where you can receive updates about your live sessions, ask questions, network with your peers. And then I'm going to launch this quick poll for you, asking how useful you found today's session and are you going to be making any changes off the back of it? And now I'm going to open up the floor to you, whether you have any questions for us. Feel free to post those in the chat or ask them aloud, and we can spend some time answering them for you now. Yeah, let us know if you have any questions. Maybe you might think of questions after we wrap up today. So if that is the case, just drop us an email or post a message in your WhatsApp group. We're always happy to help. Or if your questions are more in depth and you'd like to really pick our brains, do book in for those one-to-one coaching calls. Mary Kay says that she loved the live reviews. Thank you. Thanks, that's really kind. An excellent presentation, aren't you guys? Thank you very much. Yeah, like I said, this is really just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to best practices and reviewing. So do make the most of all those features that we were sharing earlier on, and let us know if any deep questions do arise as you're making changes and working on them. Thanks everybody for joining us today. We'll let you go and enjoy the rest of your days. Thanks for coming along and sharing your page with us and bringing such great energy. Great to see you all today, and looking forward to seeing you again very soon. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.
Thanks, everyone. See you soon.